Hi guys, thanks for joining me on Making with Marilyn. On today's video, I'm going to be personalizing these two cute little elves from the Dollar Tree store. Now, I have another video where I did some other elves that I got from the Dollar Tree store, but I have seen in my local store as well as from other people online that the Dollar Tree store is pretty much out of those. So last night I was at the Dollar Tree store and they had these new they're a little bit more, I don't know, fuzzy. They're more fuzzy than the other elves were, so I'm going to try to see if I can put names on these and how well that works out. And when I was at my Dollar Tree last night, they had a bin and there was at least 100 of these elves in them. So if you want to make some cute little personalized elves and your Dollar Tree is out of the other elves that maybe you've seen on YouTube videos, run back in and see if maybe they got these. So for today's video, besides my elves, I'm going to use my Cricut Maker. I'll use my computer with Design Space. I'm going to use a standard grip Cricut mat. I'm going to use some glitter HTV. Hopefully that'll work well. It is Caesar brand and I'll show you more about that as we go along. For my transfer tape, I'm just using this Contact brand transparent contact paper. That's my standard go-to for most projects. I have some heat resistant tape so that I can tape my HTV down to my dolls, my elves. I have some scissors and I will grab my weeding tool. I'm going to need my weeding tool as well. So if you want to join along, run out there to the Dollar Tree store, grab you a couple of elves, everything that you need, and we'll get going. Okay, I'm in Cricut Design Space and I clicked on New Project, and so I'm on the starting screen. The amount of space that I have available is about 2 inches wide or 2 inches long and 3/4 inches tall. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on text. Now I want to see only the fonts on my system because I don't want to pay for a font and I'm not a member of Cricut Access. I want to look for a nice chunky font so that it shows up well on my elf. Okay, so this Britannic bold, I like that. So I put in my son's name. Now I want to go ahead and add another name. And I'm doing them separately because I find that easier in sizing. Her name is so wide that I'm probably going to have to space it differently than I would want to space his name. So first thing I want to do is I want to unlock this, and I know that I'm limited at 3/4 of an inch tall. I'm going to go ahead and put in 0.75. And then I want to go ahead and decrease my letter spacing so they'll move closer together. Notice right now I'm 3.8 inches wide and I only have 2.5 inches available to me. So let's go ahead and start moving those together. Okay, these two are getting pretty close, so let's space it back out just a little bit. Now notice how the A and the D are quite a ways apart. I'm going to go ahead and hit ungroup so that I can move letters individually. I'll move my A over a little bit and my M. I feel like my O could go just a tiny bit. Not much at all. Okay, so let me go ahead and select the whole thing, and I'm going to align bottom to make sure that they are lined up really well. They are. I think I might have seen some slightly move, but not very much. Okay, let's see what happens when I try to move these together, or when I try to make it less wide. Okay, that looks fine. And go ahead and do this at 0.75. I got it off just a little bit. All right, and I'm going to lock that. Now with his name, let me go ahead and, well, let me do something here. Let me select the whole thing and group it back together. And then with his name, I'm going to move it over just so you can see it a little bit better. Let's see what happens when I change it to 0.75 tall. And notice it's not even 2.5 inches wide. So I'm good with it so far, but I don't know that I like how the letters are spaced exactly. So I'm going to ungroup it. I feel like the O and the J need to be moved over. Okay, I can tell that they aren't aligned at the bottom anymore. The J is up. So I'm going to click, well, first I'm going to select the whole thing, then I'm click Align and Align Bottom. Okay, so I'm going to select the whole thing, go ahead and group it back. Make it a little bit taller, back to the 0.75. I want to see what it would look like if I stretch it. Okay, that looks fine. So I'm going to go ahead and group that back. Okay, so let me show you what would happen if I clicked Make It. First of all, let me change the color to something that'll show up a little bit better on my mat. Okay, let me show you what would happen if I clicked Make It. Look, it's just a jumbled mess. So what I need to do is I need to select everything in Madison and click Attach, everything in John and click Attach. Now it's going to send this to the maker the way you see it. It's going to send this to the maker the way you see it. And it will place them in a more efficient place on my mat for cutting. So I'll click Make It. And you see they're right up at the top. I do want to move the Madison over just a little bit so I can cut between them. And I like them down a little bit just in case I mess up when I put my material on my mat. Okay, the other thing is that when you are applying heat transfer vinyl, every heat transfer vinyl I've ever used, you have to mirror your image or it's not going to come out correctly. It's going to be backwards. So you have to make sure you click mirror. And then because my maker is already turned on and I'm hooked up to it, I'm connected to it, when I click continue, it's going to look for any machines that I have connected. Now I want to browse all materials. I'm just going to type in the word glitter and I find glitter iron-on. So I select it and click done. Now it wants me to make sure I have my fine point blade and clamp B, and then I can load my mat. So let me get my camera angle switched and we'll move forward with the project. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to attach my HTV to my mat, but I want to show you what I do. I add on just my own label that reminds me what settings to use when I'm applying it to whatever I'm applying it to. And so I have here the Caesar Glitter HTV, and it reminds me, my label reminds me to preheat. It gives me the temperature, how long I heat it, and then whether it's a hot peel, a warm peel, or a cold peel. So I have found that to be very helpful so that I don't have to go on my computer and look every time to see what I need to be doing. Okay, so I've used a tiny little corner already, so I'm going to have to go back and change on my screen where I'm cutting at. Because I don't really want to cut that off and waste it. So I'm going to adhere it down really well. Now on my screen, I'm going to cancel my cut. And then I'm just going to move what I'm cutting over so that it doesn't try to cut it out of that corner that's missing. Okay, and I can see that my mat isn't super sticky. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of washi tape and hold it down in a couple places. Otherwise, see, this is lifted up so much that would get caught and it wouldn't feed through correctly. I probably should just replace my mat. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I have the fine point blade in my machine, and I do. I use a premium fine point blade. I'm going to just push the blade out and clean it off a little bit. Now remember, I had to cancel my cut and move it over. So now on my computer I'm clicking continue again. I did have to mirror the image again. Finding my glitter iron-on. Okay, so it's ready for me to load my material. And now we cut. Okay, let's go ahead and unload this, and then I will just get my maker out of the way. Now I'm going to press my HTV with my little Cricut Mini. I'm going to click it one time for temperature because this just needs a low heat on my Easy Press Mini. So I'm going to go ahead and let that heat up. Now I want to cut out just the amount of vinyl that I used. So HTV weeds really nicely typically. Let's see if that's what happens in this case. What I do is I just poke my little weeding tool through the corner. And just start pulling. See how well that weeds? Now you need to remember to go in and take out your centers. And then on this little design, it's not a big deal, you can tell easily, but I tend to turn mine around so that I can look at it from the front just to make sure that everything looks right, and it does. Now I'm going to start with Madison. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. These little elves aren't sewn perfectly. I mean, you get them for $1, so you're not going to expect to have perfection. But what I want to do is have it fairly even with the belt. I think that would stick out more if the name was kind of cocked compared to the belt. I think that looks pretty straight, and it looks like it's centered fairly well. So I'm going to refer back. Okay, so I already forgot to preheat. So I'm going to preheat for 2 to 3 seconds, and then I'm going to press it for 15 to 20 seconds. In this case, I'm going to go for the full 20 seconds because I am heating it, or I am adhering it to something that's pretty fuzzy and not real solid. So I'll go for the full 20 seconds. So I'm just going to preheat it for a couple seconds. Now you do want to make sure that the nap of, I don't think that's the right word, you want to make sure that your fuzz looks the way you want it to, and in my case I have it combed down for my letters to stick to. I can always, when I'm done, kind of pull it up off the belt, but I'm going to start with it pushed down. Okay, and I thought I would use the tape, but I have enough stick on the back of my transfer sheet, or my transfer sheet, my carrier sheet, so I'm not even going to worry about using the tape. So I'm going to press down, and I'm going to count to 20. Okay. Yowie, that's hot. Okay, that looks really good. You probably can't tell so much in the camera that it is glitter HTV, but I think the glitter adds a little bit to it. I like that. Okay, so let me go ahead and put the John on. That sounded kind of funny. Okay, so when I was in the store, I didn't pay too much attention to how well these were made. Notice this one has a little bit of a dip there. When I'm done, I'll just push some of that up, I guess. Point being, when you pick out your elves, check them over better than I did. So I'm preheating for a couple seconds, 2 to 3 seconds. And then I'll press down for 20. All right, I lost count. I'm going to think, or I'm going to call that good. Excellent. Now what I want to do, just to make sure it's down really well, is I'm going to put a Teflon sheet over it and then just press down some more. You would not want to do this directly onto your HTV that you've taken the carrier sheet off of. It would melt it. At least I assume it would melt it. I've never tried it. Okay, so there's my cute little elves that I've added names to. Now I think the hat looks a little bit plain, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out a couple of snowflakes and add those to the 2 little elves. Okay, so I'm going to preheat just for 2 or 3 seconds. I'll set my snowflake on. I want it just kind of in the middle. It's really just to add a little bit more detail to this little elf. That will be fine. And then I'm going to press, counting to 20. Go ahead and peel it off. Perfect. Give it a few more seconds of a press with my Teflon sheet just to make sure it's good and adhered. Go ahead and preheat elf number 2. And again, I'll count to 20. Now I want to clean these up just a little bit. I'm going to remove the tag since it shows through to the other side on the elf's legs. And this one had a little, there it is, just a little piece of stitching sticking out. So get rid of that. And there we have it. Now, if you liked my video or you found anything on it helpful or inspiring, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments section. And if you'd like to see what I'll be doing in the future, click the subscribe button. If you also click on the bell, then you can select what type of notification you'd like to receive when I upload something. Thanks for joining me. I'm Marilyn. Bye-bye.